Hello guys, and welcome back to HJW Gaming and my final season end review, and also the taking of my season end rewards. Now, if anyone's been following this series so far, they will have seen this server has had some incredible ups and downs with backs and forths for most teams, but here is the final map on the last day of the server. As you can see here, we did manage to reclaim some of our territory over on the western side. We did fight tooth and nail for this to try and get a little bit of security and also reclaim our capital. I don't think we've shown this in the last video, but we did actually, about a week before the end of the server, we did lose our capital, Orthanc. It was taken by Lothlorien as Gondor pushed up through the south, through Narn Nui, I think it is, and Lothlorien pushed down from the north through Rivendell, which was at that point owned by themselves, and they pushed down and sandwiched us at Orthanc. We put up a strong final defence, trying to hold them as long as we could. Of course, we've been holding them kind of two teams for as much as we possibly could. Pretty much the entire server. So we did what we could to try and hold them off. And you can see here there's still a couple of remnant battle pings. We've also had some back and forth with Linden here. If we needed to, we possibly could have gone and tried to take the Grey Havens, but we have been talking to them pretty much the entire server, and we did agree we weren't going to take it. If we had to end without a capital, it's not the end of the world to us. We don't want to bully the little guys just to grow our own rewards. And the reason there's a blue territory there of Arnor and a little bit of back and forth is actually Logo and Dawn have been having a little bit of friendly PvP with the Linden team. So that's not seizing from them or trying to push them or anything like that. We did have a little bit of a push towards the end. We did try and push up towards Rivendell. However, we were unsuccessful there. And we did also have a little bit of a push through the middle, which I'll show in a little bit. But yeah, final rewards at the end. You can see there, Gondor have 5 capitals. Lothlorien, I believe, have 6, including Dol Guldur, as they have also taken Erebor, which I was quite surprised by the fact that they took Erebor away, as Erebor have been fighting on theirs and Gondor's side for pretty much the whole season, keeping Rune occupied so they couldn't do anything to assist. But they then took Erebor. It was owned by Rune at the time, but I'm surprised they didn't give it back to Erebor as they've been fighting on their side. But you'll see there with Gondor picking up Rivendell, they do have the 5 caps, and I think Lothlorien therefore have 6, including DG, which they took through their ring fight with Gondor, which it wasn't really a ring fight as such. It wasn't like an all-out war between the two factions, because I think both sides had half an eye on what we were doing in the west. So instead, they did the kind of double siege, and whoever gets it at the end, which did end up being Lothlorien. And there was a little bit of spice in there with Gondor accusing Lothlorien of having a few too many armies ready for the siege when they agreed to try and keep it level. But I'll skim away from that, as it's not worth discussing the drama that wasn't involving my faction. Now, where we end in contribution ranking, we actually end in a comparatively poor for ourselves 49th. We were fighting on the Gondor front for the majority of the season, which I will admit we did take more losses than we did wins, heavily a lot more losses than wins, so we weren't getting quite as much merit per fight as we normally would. We're quite outclassed here, but overall we did fight a hell of a lot. I don't think I've ever fought so much in a server for such little merit. But we did also take a week off at the start of the server when we were fighting Lothlorien. Around a week off, as I went to Silverstone and had to prep for that as well. So that week off probably cost me about another 1 million merit. But we did still sneak inside the top 50 to pick up those good season end rewards. Shout out here to Emiru, who's a fantastic player we picked up this season. Came across from Dobie, who I think he's going to play with again next season. But yeah, beat everyone else by over 2 mil merit. Huge score from Emiru. Another player I've also played with when he was in Echo. But shout out to all the top 10 here, man. All of these guys put in an absolute shift. You can see a lot of familiar names, and most of those will be homies next season. I think the exception being Ragnar, I think. Rewards-wise, we do end with the Coalition Protector title, so we do pick up 100 season and reward points for just having our capital back. We did try and negotiate for a gold badge in the hope that, because we've been fighting back and forth all season, we might have been allowed to have potentially 3 capitals of our own, as of course Lothlorien did have one more than the amount they needed for their rewards. So potentially they could let us have one of those and then kind of leave it up to us to discuss with Linden. Though we weren't particularly keen on taking Linden, as it would kind of at least then leave the decision in our hands. But neither Lothlorien nor Gondor wanted to give us another capital, so we had to deal with taking back our Orthanc capital and going from there. I think it was kind of half defended at that point, as it was owned by Lothlorien. Gondor weren't really defending it, and I know the Dark clan in Lothlorien didn't want to fight in the west, so it was only Dost that were there defending it. Now, as far as our commanders at season end go, we do have, in fact, we only have one level 50. I was quite surprised. As I said, we were fighting a lot of the time on a bit of a downside. We definitely were under-leveled at the start of PvP, particularly because of that week off, which did cost us quite a lot. But we do end up with one level 50 in Dane and the rest level 49. Our gear has definitely leveled up substantially. You can see here we're now running a full Warcry set on my Dane. The reason we're running this Superior Hauberk is it does give a little bit of unit defense, but actually the problem is that I don't actually have an attack boosting chest with Warcry at the minute. If I get something like a Scale Mail, I'll use that, or of course a Berserker's Raiment would be ideal. So with all this, we are set up nicely with 217 attack at level 50 and of course the full Warcry set. My ideal, though, would be to swap for a Scale Mail or Raiment with Warcry to get bonus attack, because then we can use the weapon that we have on our Aragorn King of Men, which is the Blazing Tongue. At the minute, my Blazing Tongue, as of this season, actually, is fully refined. I did get the final Blazing Tongue right at the end. So, yeah, get fully refined, and I do have a Warcry within that. So if I can swap that out and switch it around, then that will be the better weapon for my Dane Ironfoot, as it does have higher damage at 10 to 30 versus the 11 to 24 that I have on the axe. Only issue being is that it has 21 lower attack, so I will need an attack boosting chest ideally, something like a Scale Mail like this to put on my Dane. For now, the Aragorn King of Men's using it, and I am using this classic chest on him, as it does give bonus unit defense and also bonus attack, as of course using that Blazing Tongue does drop his attack a little bit, so we do need to use a good attack boost. I could have used a Might Scale Mail to get the Might effect, but I didn't think it was worth the 15 lower attack on him. Now for Gandalf the White, you can see we've had a bit of a switcheroo around. We can use the Call of the Forest at times to get a little bit of bonus initiative. We're just waiting for a couple more helms to be able to strengthen it. And we are actually going to, I think, break down the High Elf helm on my Sauron, as I'm trying to build a full agility set for him, as you can see here from my switch away from the reins to actually a unit defense build. But I may switch to a fine smoking pipe, potentially Fortitude for Gandalf the White to get bonus focus, which will be around the same amount as my worn out smoking pipe, and then I can use something like a High Elf helm or strengthen up the Call of the Forest to use on him as well, get him a little bit more initiative. As for Sauron, we've ended with this here. We have broken down a lot of our gear. We did have Gigantic Hammer, but upon in one of my Matham openings pulling the Noldor Sword with Agility, I decided to chuck that on him, as if I combine that with the Plate of the Citadel, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this. I'll probably swap this out for a Scout's Mail, as it'll have more initiative. But combining the two, I do get good unit defense as well. Same reason why I'm using this Silver Harp of Rivendell. Gives me a lot more unit defense versus the Miras Reigns. And if I swap the High Elf's helm around for something like a Horseman's helm with agility, which I need a hammer to break down to get, I will actually have the same amount of initiative as I did before, but a massive increase in unit defense and I think slightly more command as well. So it'll make my tank build significantly stronger long term, and it will keep his initiative relatively high as well, around the same level it was before when I was using the kind of half refined 1.0 gear. Now when I break down the Blazing Tongue to get the Warcry effect for Dane, I do actually have a Noldor sword in here that I used for strengthening. You see there's the Warcry one there. But I used it for strengthening, so when I break that down I will actually get another Noldor sword out, which I can then use for refining on Sauron's for the first refine, getting that little bit more command, which will be great. But you can see here how much of a gear shift around we've had. I mentioned about the High Elf helm. We will be breaking this down, although unfortunately we only have worn outs. I do like the initiative, so I want to keep the helm around, but I think the Call of the Forest will be a little bit better for my Gandalf the Grey, so I think I'll be keeping that on him as well. Miras Reigns will be breaking those down for the accessories to strengthen Aragon King of Men's current accessory, which I did break down, hence why it's only 2 times strengthened. So yeah, we will be breaking that down for the worn outs inside, but we'll keep the reins around just in case we get an agility set of reins, and then we can swap straight to that as soon as possible. Anyway, overall for the season, I think we can be relatively happy with where we've come out in the end. We were getting 2v1'd, of course, by 2 massive factions, pretty much for the entirety of the server. We have fought as hard as we possibly can all the way through, and I just want to basically give a huge amount of praise to all the other homies who fought tooth and nail throughout the season to come out with this result, as it's obviously quite demotivating when you know you have absolutely no shot and you're being pummeled by 2 huge teams in a mega alliance. But all we did is we just kept fighting every single day, trying to hold everything we had and keep everything we had. So I just want to shout out all these guys who absolutely worked their hardest off to get this result. So yeah, real credit to them. We did have a little bit of PvP actually towards the end of our season, as you can see here, where we moved to the middle, as we were actually pushing through after Orthanc, and we gained a bit of momentum, and we were considering moving towards and trying to push through the middle to see what would happen. But yeah, that didn't really come off for us. So we ended the season in that position, and now we look towards our season end rewards. As I said, we did pick up the Coalition Protector badge, so around that 2.2 million merit mark. Of course, not particularly great for me. It's about 1.5 million off my PB, though of course with the level of player in this server, we were picking up less merit per fight, as I said. So we definitely had a lot of fights. We just didn't quite pick up as much merit per fight as we would have previously, but still not a bad result. If we don't take the week off and we don't end up under-leveled, we definitely perform better long term, as it all kind of snowballs. With the new leveling system, it does definitely snowball. If you fall behind too soon, it does cost you quite a lot. Now with our Coalition Protector badge, we do have 800 of these medals, which is quite nice, along with gems, 300 gems and 6 Matham tokens. Now originally I had these 800 medals stocked up, intending to get the Blazing Tongue, as towards the end of the season we didn't have that Blazing Tongue fully refined. It was only with the treasure sack we managed to pull 1 more Blazing Tongue, so there's no need for me to pick that up anymore. So I've got a couple of debates here. Do I pick up an Elven Craftsman's Hammer with what I described earlier about my gear? Elven Craftsman's Hammer will of course allow me to kind of rearrange that gear and improve, though I will get them in the season pass, so potentially all through the merit store. Potentially it'd be better to get those later on, and instead spend my precious season end rewards on something else like a golden piece of gear. We do of course don't need the Blazing Tongue, as I mentioned. The problem is I don't really rate the Mithril Coat, as it doesn't give any unit buffs and commander defense is a little bit pointless, so I'm not particularly interested in the Mithril Coat. And then also the Helm of Numenor I don't really rate particularly high either, as it's not really focused enough on any of the attributes. It gives a little bit of unit defense, but the kind of balance between attack, focus and pretty pointless commander defense makes it not really that important to me, and not really something I would consider using. However, with the Call of the Forest of mine currently being 2 strengthened, and I need 1 more piece of gear to get it to 3-star, I'm considering taking the Numenor Helm and just using it as strengthened fodder for that Call of the Forest, which will allow me to keep a few more helms like the High Elf helms sitting around in my inventory waiting for future use. You can see we do actually have pretty good first sets of gear, with most things 5 or 4-star strengthened, which I'm quite happy with, as I find the jump up from 4 to 5 stars often not worth the amount of gear it costs. Having to use 8 gold pieces, normally for only about 8 attack boost, I don't really consider that worth it, because you might be able to build a better set for a second commander. But now all my commanders are wearing gold, I do think this could be worthwhile. You can see we have an abundance of chest pieces here. I don't have any chests that I actually want to use. I do have, of course, the two attack pieces of chest, the raiments, but I don't have either with buffs that I need for either my Aragorn, which I can use the 1.0 gear to get bonus attack on, or for my Dane, of which I need Warcry, so there's no need for that. As you can see here, 2-star Call of the Forest and 2 spare helms. So yeah, I think I will pick up the Numenor helm here and get that to the next level of strengthening. For now, let's just have a look at those couple of tokens I've got kicking around, and let's just get those opened up and see if we get anything lucky, just to finish this video off. You can see we do have the Strife of the Herd chest we could open. It's reasonably good value for gold gear with, you can see 15 opens, so that's just under 9,000 gems if you use the free one. Will get you gold gear, which isn't too bad, but we're not going to be opening that one here. So we'll open up our free and reduced Matham. We open up our first 5 and we do get a Haldir invitation along with some respect for LOTR actually, which could come in useful for me, and we do get a gold invitation. We get it for Gimli, unfortunately, who I'm not going to be looking towards using. You can see there we are 170 out of 200, so someone soon I should be able to show you my final invitation. And now going into rewards, we'll just pick up the Numenor Helm as I discussed earlier, as I do think that'd be useful for strengthening. Unfortunately, Fortune of Men, not a good buff, so we won't look towards that. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, smash the like button and please let me know if you want to see more season updates in future for my future servers. Anyway, with that, I've been HOW Gaming and I hope to see you on the next one.